Devoted and intelligent since his youth, he realized early the merit of the three forms of emptiness. When grown, he comprehended the principles of the spiritual, including first the practice of the four forms of patience. Neither the pine in the wind nor the moon mirrored in water can compare with his purity and radiance. Even the dew of heaven and luminous gems cannot surpass the clarity and refinement of his person. His intelligence encompassed even those elements which seemingly had no relations, and his spirit could perceive that which had yet to take visible forms. Having transcended the lure of the six senses, he was such an outstanding figure that in all the past he had no rival. He concentrated his mind on the internal verities, mourning all the time the mutilation of the correct doctrines. Worrying over the mysteries, he lamented that even the most profound treatises had errors. He thought of revising the teachings and reviving certain arguments so as to disseminate what he had received to a wider audience. He would, moreover, strike out the erroneous and preserve the true to enlighten the students. For this reason he longed for the Pure Land and a pilgrimage to the Western territories. Risking dangers, he set out on a long journey, with only his staff for his companion on this solitary expedition. Snow drifts in the morning would blanket his roadway. Sandstorms at dusk would blot out the horizon. Over 10,000 miles of mountains and streams he proceeded, pushing aside mist and smoke. Through 1,000 alternations of heat and cold he advanced amidst frost and rain. As his zeal was great, he considered his task a light one, for he was determined to succeed. He toured throughout the Western world for 14 years, going to all the foreign nations in quest of the proper doctrines. He led the life of an ascetic beneath twin sala trees, and by the 8 rivers of India. At the Deer Park and on the Vulture Peak he beheld the strange and searched out the different. He received ultimate truths from the senior sages and was taught the true doctrines by the highest worthies. Penetrating into the mysteries, he mastered the most profound lessons. The way of the Trayana and 6 commandments he learned by heart. 100 cases of scriptures forming the canon flowed like waves from his lips. Though the countries he visited were innumerable, the scriptures he succeeded in acquiring had a definite number. Of those important texts of the Mahayana he received, there are 35 titles in altogether 5,048 scrolls. When they are translated and spread through China, they will proclaim the surpassing merit of Buddhism, drawing the cloud of mercy from the western extremity to shower the Dharma rain on the eastern region. The holy religion, once incomplete, is now returned to perfection. The multitudes, once full of sins, are now brought back to blessing. Like that which quenches the fire in a burning house, Buddhism works to save humanity lost on its way to perdition. Like a golden beam shining on darkened waters, it leads the voyagers to ascend safely the other shore. Thus we know that the wicked will fall because of their iniquities, but the virtuous will rise because of their karmic affinities. The root causes of such rise and fall are all self-made by man. Consider the cinnamon flourishing high on the mountain, its flowers nourished by cloud and mist, or the lotus growing atop the green waves, its leaves unsoiled by dust. This is not because the lotus is by nature clean or because the cinnamon itself is chaste, but because what the cinnamon depends on for its existence is lofty, and thus it will not be weighed down by trivia. And because what the lotus relies on is pure, and thus impurity cannot stain it. Since even the vegetable kingdom, which is itself without intelligence, knows that excellence comes from an environment of excellence, how can humans who understand the great relations not search for well-being by following well-being? May these scriptures abide forever as the sun and moon, and may the blessings they confer spread throughout the universe. After the secretary had finished writing this treatise, the sage monk was summoned. At the time, the elder was already waiting outside the gate of the court. When he heard the summons, he hurried inside and prostrated himself to pay homage to the emperor. Taizong asked him to ascend the hall and handed him the document. When he had finished reading it, the priest went to his knees again to express his gratitude. "The style and rhetoric of my lord," said the priest, "are lofty and classical, while the reasoning in the treatise is both profound and subtle. I would like to know, however, whether a title has been chosen for this composition." "We composed it orally last night," replied Taizong, "as a token of thanks to our royal brother. Will it be acceptable if I title this preface to the holy religion?" The elder kowtowed and thanked him profusely. Once more Taizong said, "Our talents pale before the imperial tablets, and our words cannot match the bronze and stone inscriptions. As for the esoteric texts, our ignorance thereof is even greater. Our treatise orally composed is actually quite unpolished, like mere spilled ink on tablets of gold, or broken tiles in a forest of pearls. Writing it in self-interest, we have quite ignored even embarrassment. It is not worth your notice, and you should not thank us." All the officials present, however, congratulated the emperor and made arrangements immediately to promulgate the royal essay on holy religion inside and outside the capital. Taizong said, "We would like to ask the royal brother to recite the true scriptures for us." "How about it, my lord?" said the elder. "If you want me to recite the true scriptures, we must find the proper religious site. The treasure palace is no place for recitation." Exceedingly pleased, Taizong asked his attendants, "Among the monasteries of Chang'an, which is the purest one?" From among the ranks stepped forth the Grand Secretary, Xiao Yu, who said, "The Wild Goose Pagoda Temple in the city is purest of all." At once Taizong gave this command to the various officials. "Each of you take several scrolls of these true scriptures, and go reverently with us to the Wild Goose Pagoda Temple. We want to ask our royal brother to expound the scriptures to us." Each of the officials indeed took up several scrolls and followed the emperor's carriage to the temple. A lofty platform with proper appointments was then erected. As before, the elder told 8 rules and Sha Monk to hold the dragon horse and mind the luggage, while Pilgrim was to serve him by his side. Then he said to Taizong, "If my lord would like to circulate the true scriptures throughout his empire, copies should be made before they are dispersed. We should treasure the originals and not handle them lightly." Smiling, Taizong said, "The words of our royal brother are most appropriate. Most appropriate." He thereupon ordered the officials in the Hiling Academy and the Central Drafting Office to make copies of the true scriptures. For them he also erected another temple east of the capital, and named it the Temple for Imperial Transcription. The elder had already taken several scrolls of scriptures and mounted the platform. He was just about to recite them when he felt a gust of fragrant wind. In midair the 8 Vara guardians revealed themselves and cried, "Residents, drop your scripture scrolls and follow us back to the west." From below, Pilgrim and his 2 companions, together with the white horse, immediately rose into the air. The elder, too, abandoned the scriptures and rose from the platform. They all left soaring through the air. So startled were Taizong and the many officials that they all bowed down toward the sky. Thus it was that, since scriptures were the sage monk's ardent quest, he went on 14 years throughout the West. A bitter journey full of trials and woes, with many streams and mountains as his foes. 9 merits more were added to 8 times 9. His 3,000 works did on the great world shine. The wondrous texts brought back to the noble state, would in the East until now circulate. After Taizong and many officials had finished their worship, they immediately set about the selection of high priests so that a grand mass of land and water could be held right in that Wild Goose Pagoda Temple. Furthermore, they were to read and recite the true scriptures from the great canon in order that the damned spirits would be delivered from nether darkness and the celebration of good works be multiplied. The copies of transcribed scriptures would also be promulgated throughout the empire, and of this we shall speak no more. We must tell you now about those 8 great Vara guardians, who mounted the fragrant wind to lead the elder, his 3 disciples, and the white horse back to Spirit Mountain. The round trip was made precisely within a period of 8 days. At that time, the various divinities of Spirit Mountain were all assembled before Buddha to listen to his lecture. Ushering master and disciples before his presence, the 8 Vara guardians said, Your disciples by your golden decree have escorted the sage monk and his companions back to the Tang nation. The scriptures have been handed over. We now return to surrender your decree. The Tang monk and his disciples were then told to approach the throne of Buddha to receive their appointments. Sage monk, said Tathagata, in your previous incarnation you were originally my second disciple named Master Gold Cicada. Because you failed to listen to my exposition of the law, and slighted my great teaching, your true spirit was banished to find another incarnation in the land of the East. Happily you submitted and, by remaining faithful to our teaching, succeeded in acquiring the true scriptures. For such magnificent merit, you will receive a great promotion to become the Buddha of Tandana merit.